Hey folks, Copperthumb here. In today's awesome tutorial, I am very excited to say that we are going to be making chainmail. Look at how awesome this is. Super flexible, just like the real stuff, except we can print it in one big sheet and don't have to slowly bend loads of rings together and over and over and over and over. And it's super light, so for all you cosplayers out there, you can have a lot of fun with this. It's so cool. Anyway, I'm very excited to show you how to make this. It took a little while to figure it out, but now that I have, I want to share that with you. So without further ado, let's dive right in. All right, folks, welcome. Let's start, as we always do, by saying hello to our old friend, the default cube, before hitting X, deleting, and saying goodbye to our old friend, the default cube. Next, for this tutorial, what I want you to do is go into edit mode, down to preferences, and I want you to install Loop Tools. Loop Tools is an amazing add-on that just gives us a few extra tools in edit mode that are going to be really useful in this tutorial and this build, and honestly is probably going to be really useful in most of your builds. A lot of people, most people I know are just using Loop Tools all the time. It should really just be part of the main sort of Blender workflow now, because it's just incredible, as you will see. So after that, we can dive right in. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the first rivulet, the first ring of our chainmail. Once we have that, we can essentially just, copy that using some neat arrays to build out our set of armor. But we're going to build that rivulet thinking of like bed adhesion, making sure that as we're printing this, it's going to stick to the bed well, because we're going to have so many of them that, we don't want any of them to fail, because that's going to be a pain and is going to ruin our chainmail effect. So let's build that ring right now. So let's start by hitting Shift A and bringing up the mesh menu, and let's bring in a torus. Wow, look at this. Kind of looks like a donut. But I think what we'll do with it is make it a little bit thinner so it looks like the ring of armor. So to do that, what we can do is decrease the minor radius of this into, I would think, 0.15. There we go. So that's looking more like, if you're imagining this as like a steel ring, then that's gonna be better for our armor. Leave all the other settings as they are. Now, you might be thinking 1 meter and 0.15 meters, that's enormous. Well, we don't need to worry about the sizing right now, because we can do that right at the end. We could even do it on the print bed. All we're going to worry about now is the shape and the geometry and making sure that those rings are interlinking correctly. So once we have that ring, what we can do is we can rotate this by hitting selecting it, rotate it on the X by 55 degrees. So RX and then 55. So now it is standing up, which is great. So now if we hit 7, it'll bring us into top orthographic mode, and then hit 9 to flip that into bottom orthographic mode. So now we're looking at it from the bottom. The reason we're going to do that is we are now going to create a flat surface, so this ring, when printing, will have a flat surface to sit on the bed, which is what we need for it to print correctly. So what we can do is we go into edit mode, 3 into face select mode, and I am going to select these 16 vertices. Or I'm going to try. If you miss some, just shift and mouse click to collect them, and then hold shift again. So, and I'm going to get these ones and these. I see I've got a stray one at the top there, so I'm going to deselect that just by shift click. And then, staying in that bottom orthographic view, what I can do is now use that tasty add-on that we've built in. So Loop Tools. Now all I can do is I can right click, go into the Loop Tools menu, and go down to flatten, and then making sure that we are in that perfect bottom orthographic view. That's very important. We're going to change the plane, not from best fit, which does sort of an average. We're going to change it from best fit to view. So now it is perfectly flat to the view, which is important because that means it's perfectly flat on our print bed when we send this to print. Cool. So now we have this ring with this little flat edge on here that allows it to adhere to the print bed. And the next step is basically duplicating this using some cool array modifiers to create our sheet of chainmail. I'm so excited. All right, let's do the next step. Okay, now that we have our armor ring, what we can do is start building out the chainmail by weaving them together. And we're going to do that using the array modifier. If you've seen my other tutorials, you've probably definitely seen the array modifier pop up. It is super powerful and super helpful for what we're about to do. So you go to down here to this little wrench, add modifier, generate, and then array. It's the top one here. And as you can see, it brings in 3 count in the shape of a line, which is what we want. However, the offset X, which means it's going along the X axis, this red line, it's got them right bumped up next to each other. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is change that offset X to 1.1 to create some space. So this now creates us a row of those armor rings. And now if I increase the count, you'll see that we can just keep doing that indefinitely. But for now, let's keep it at 3 because that allows us to work, because essentially once we have the rings in place, we can expand it out infinitely if we wanted to, as much as your GPU can handle. But for now, we'll just use the 3. So once we have that, we have this step here. What we can do is we can go what we need to do is go Control A and change the transforms, the rotation and scale. And that, if you see that little cross moved, if I undo, you see this cross is pointing down, which means that if I was to add in more rings, let's say some more rings on the y-axis, they would start going in the face direction, and we don't want that. We want them to keep that little jaunty angle and go along the y-axis. So just important to know, select Control A, rotation and scale, and then set that like so. Now what we can do is we can duplicate this on the y by let's see, 0.65. Boom. And then it moves it along. Actually, let's not do that. Let's duplicate it by Shift D on the y-axis by 1. Great. So it bumps it along like so. Then what we can do is we can rotate this 180 degrees on the Z. Great. And now it has the ring, the rings bumping up, which we will sort out in a second. We also have the array on this duplicate now. If I increase, they're increasing in the wrong direction. Well, what we can do is, because we've rotated it 100 degrees, we can say, no, we want to reset that rotation. So hit Control A, and then again on this new one, apply the rotation and scale. Boom. And now it's going in the right direction. Perfect. Okay, cool. Right. Next, we're going to bring this ring in. So let's actually grab this on the y-axis, 0.5, minus 0.5 to bring it in. And then we're going to move it along the x-axis by grabbing it on the x by 1.25. Boom. Now it is linked through the rings, and you have created a chain. Awesome. Well done. Bonus chain tutorial in the middle of this chainmail tutorial. Who would have known? So now if I increase this count and I increase this count, it creates that wonderful chain and starts the beginning of our chainmail shirt. Cool. So what we do now is we have to add more array modifiers to interlink these and create our patch. So let's do that right now. So how do we do that? Well, it's actually really cool. So grabbing the first ring, what we can do is add a second array modifier. Now you'll see here that it's adding it on the, if you scroll down, it's adding it on the, in a line on the x-axis again. So it's basically taking everything that we have and then creating an array of that. So it's doing like, 6 at a time? Yeah, which we don't need to do. So we'll bring that back. What we need to do is create, we can, instead of it, the offset being on the X, we need the offset to be on the Y. So to change that, we just change that to 0, and we change that to 1, boom. And now it's wonderfully doing it on the Y axis. So great. So now if we click the other one and we do the same thing, let's generate an array, and then change the offset on the bottom one, change the offset 1 to 0 on the X, click the Y and change that to 1. And there we have it. It's starting to look like a chainmail shirt. But if we look a little bit closer, we can see that it's not working perfectly because those rings are looping through. Those ones, these ones here, if you can see in there, they're looping through the geometry, which means it would print as a solid object and it would have no flexibility. So it could look cool, but it wouldn't be working as we want it. So we just need to bring those rings in a little bit tighter. So starting with the first one, what we can do is change on the bottom, change the Y offset to 0.65 rather than 0.1. And that's going to tuck it in a little bit tighter. And then if I click the other set, do the same thing. So the Y-axis 0.65, and that will bring it in a little bit tighter. And now when you take a look, those rings should be interlocking, but not touching each other, which means when they print, they're all going to print interlocked and will create a sheet, which is pretty exciting. Now, if we want to build a bigger sheet, all we have to do is increase the amount of rows here, and then click on the other one, boop, boop, and do the same thing. And we can just keep creating till we have a full sheet of chainmail. How awesome is that? Ah, I love it. So, I mean, I think all there's left to do now is get this on the print bed, print it, and see how it turns out. That is awesome. Now, one thing I would say to check is make sure that you look through and make sure that none of the geometry is touching each other. If it is, just on your second array, just alter that Y-axis. But whatever you alter on one, it needs to match on the other side. Otherwise, it won't line up properly. So this was 0.65, wasn't it? Ooh, going in slowly. There you go. So yeah, let's send this off to the printer. We'll definitely need to print this with a skirt just to give it a bit more bed adhesion, unless you have a really awesome printer. And yeah, once this works, we can basically print loads, then connect them together, and we'll have an awesome chainmail shirt. So I'm going to stop wobbling on. Let's get this on the printer and see how it turns out. Okay, once you have your awesome piece of chainmail, congratulations, by the way, this is absolutely rad. What we're going to do is select both the sides, those rings and those rings, just by holding shift. Once they're both selected, I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Export, and we're going to export this as an STL. Now you'll see here that I've already done this, so it's saved as chainmail. I'm going to click that. I'm going to make sure to include selection only, and I'm definitely going to apply the modifiers, and then I'm going to hit overwrite. Then you're going to open your slicing software of choice. Mine is Bamboo Studio. This is what I use because I use bambulab printers. I do love them. Not sponsored, would love to be, but I just love them. They're just fantastic workhorse printers, especially for the amount of printing that I do. Highly recommend. So I'm going to be printing this on the bambulab P1S. I've tried this on the A1 Mini, but just the nature of the intricacies of this print, I have more failures on the A1 Mini and the A1 unless I slow the print speed down. So just something to be wary of. But let's get the file in here. Let's see. There we go. I'll drag this in. Boom. And you can see it comes in super small, but I don't mind because I'm just going to bring this up. So I'm going to resize this to 100 millimeters. There we go. So now I have my chainmail in, and you can see here that flat bottom we had is sat nicely on the print bed, which is wonderful. Now, a few settings I'm going to change here. I am going to make sure that it has an outer brim. That's going to be very important. I'm going to change the brim width to 3 millimeters, and the brim object gap I'm going to change to 0.2 millimeters. That just means that it adds a little bit of space between the brim and the object, so it'll peel off the print bed nicely while still giving it some good support. And that's it. For your printer, if you feel that this is failing, then just add in, just slow down the print speeds and you should be okay. And you could also, change the brim object gap a little bit smaller so it clings to the model, and then just have some additional cleanup at the end. But that's it really. Now I just slice this plate. We'll see how that comes out. It's doing its thing. And there we have it. Great. So we have the nice brim around there. You can see the object gap. That's going to keep it nice and adhered to the bed. And all we have to do now is wait an hour and 9 minutes for this small piece to print, and we'll see how it turns out. Awesome. Wow, there you have it, folks. Look at the test sheet, how that turned out. It looks incredible. And of course, all you need to do to make this larger is just increase the arrays, and then you can build even bigger sheets, just like this one. It's so cool. One thing to add, if you want to connect these pieces, all you have to do is print a single ring with a little divider in it, and then you can attach the sheets together to make even bigger sheets. I want to see some full armor. Come on, I want to see some of those, like, you know, what are they called? Male coifs or whatever. Anyway, I was very happy about this tutorial. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have liked it, please consider watching some of my other videos, subscribing, following, check out my other channels. I've been Copperthumb. You've been awesome. I'll see you in the next one.